One of the big games that got me into the PlayStation was the original Crash Bandicoot, and all these years later I get to relive those moments and that nostalgia with the newly released Crash Bandicoot in Sane Trilogy. But does this end up living up to the Crash Bandicoot legacy, or is it just a rotten wampa fruit? The Crash Bandicoot in Sane Trilogy is a remake / remaster of the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games that were released on the PlayStation 1. This is Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. The games aren't a complete remake. Vicarious Visions took the same infrastructure of the original level design from Naughty Dog and just kind of went over it and refined it and touched it up here and there, adding the new graphics and the like to the games. What we end up getting are some absolutely beautiful redone versions of all 3 of these Crash titles. All of the levels are still very much here and the fun core gameplay remains. If you're unfamiliar with the Crash Bandicoot games, they start Crash Bandicoot. You platform and jump your way through tons of different hazards and lots of different styles of levels. Each game provided new challenges and new styles of levels thrown into the mix, along with refining the overall platforming of what made the games fun. Throughout the course of all 3 games, there's a nice variety of 3D and 2D style platforming levels. Ones with the camera behind Crash, the other ones where you're running forward towards the camera with a giant boulder chasing you. Plenty of 2D challenging areas for you to take on. Vehicle levels where you're riding on a polar bear or a tiger, a wave runner or a motorcycle, and a mix of all kinds of different hazards that are going to be thrown at you. The game is one hit, one death, as well as there are tons of pits for you to fall into at every given moment. Especially with the original Crash Bandicoot, it's one of those games you can potentially die, and die some more. You're given often a lot of extra lives, or you can collect Wampa Fruit, which is basically the game's coins, where you collect 100 of them in order to net yourself an extra life. There's also Aku Aku, the friendly tiki mask who helps you along your way, which works as basically an extra hit. Collecting 3 of them grants you invincibility for a period of time, allowing Crash to just run through a series of enemy and hazards. And while the platforming can be challenging enough on its own, there's also the gem challenges and Ankh symbol challenges that you can go for in the various games. These involve trying to complete the levels without dying or doing it within a certain time limit, as well as destroying every one of the game's boxes along the way. You'll even be kind of taunted at the end of each level with how many boxes you ended up missing in that particular stage. So even when you've mastered the platforming, going back and getting all of these gems will add extra hours of gameplay. Even if you're a very familiar fan of the original Crash games, it'll still probably take you a while to go back and redo all these challenges. Now, as far as changes go from this version compared to the originals, it's very minor. They've added Coco as a playable character for all 3 of the Crash titles. She wasn't in the original Crash Bandicoot at all, but you can now play as her in this version. As well as, thankfully, in the original Crash Bandicoot, you can now save anytime you like. If you're unfamiliar with it, in the original Crash Bandicoot 1, the only way you were able to save was by completing one of the bonus rounds in the particular levels. And because of this, it could be sometimes very difficult or a long period of time before you were able to save again, becoming frustrating. This also means, though, they have removed the password system that was in the original Crash. It's something that obviously is kind of archaic nowadays to think of games with password systems, so I wasn't expecting it here, but I figured I'd note it. Along with the already difficult gem challenges from Crash 1, there's also the Ankh challenges that are now in the original Crash as well, that add an extra bit of challenge to that title. All the original levels, secrets, and boss battles still feel very familiar and were just as fun to play through this game as they were back in the day. If you have nostalgia, you'll probably be filled with it while playing through all these levels again. From the technical side of things, the game ran smoothly. I didn't run any major glitching, crashing, or slowdown of any sort. Crash Bandicoot in Sane Trilogy is available now for $39.99 on the PlayStation 4, and it does not only have a full trophy list in Platinum, it has 3, one for each one of the titles. Overall, there are a lot of remakes and remasters out there, that's for sure, but the Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy does a great job at recapturing what made these games so fun from back in the day. If you have a lot of nostalgia for Crash Bandicoot, and especially if it's been a while since you played these games, you're probably gonna have a blast reliving those memories. With everything said, and this may be a little bit of nostalgia talking here, I'm going to be giving the Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy a 9 out of 10. But anyway guys, it's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.